Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to bring you another 311 palette of the week, and the three looks I'm creating are coming from one of the newer palettes from Too Faced. It's the Natural Lust palettes. I know, I hate the name too, but that aside, the packaging is beautiful, and most importantly, the shadows inside are beautiful, pigmented, and they perform very well. There are 15 mattes, 15 shimmers, and overall there are mostly neutrals in here, but with some fun little pops of color as well. So I've really enjoyed using this palette. I had a request from a subscriber after she had just purchased this palette saying, I've got this palette and I am overwhelmed. And that can happen when you have a new palette with 30 shadows staring at you in the face. You can wonder, what should I put together? So I've done three very different looks: cool tone, a kind of bronzy look, and then a colorful look. And none of those looks are what I've got on my face right now because I forgot to film an intro with one of those looks on. So I apologize about that. But I think you will enjoy seeing these colors in action. One other note is that some of these shadow names are not worth repeating out loud. So as I go along, if you just see me pointing to a shadow, you'll know I just don't care to repeat that name. But that aside, this palette is beautiful. So if you're looking for a palette, you don't care about the names, you just want some good eyeshadows, this might be one to check out. So now without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into look number one. Okay, as we start this first look, you'll see my hair is not done. It's because I was getting ready to do a hair tutorial. So I've already applied my eyelid primer. I used the Balm's Put a Lid on It eyelid primer, and that's what I'll use for all three looks. Now going into this beautiful array of colors, we're going to use a combination of two matte shadows here on an M208. We're using Silk Robe, kind of in the upper part of the crease, and then going along the brow bone with Buff It Out. You'll see me use these colors on every look in slightly different ways. Next, going in with the E40 from Sigma, I'm going to go into Love Language. And this is a cooler tone look we're going to be doing, so I'm going to be using a lot of the cooler matte shades in the palette, and I am layering this several times through the crease. This one takes a little bit of layering, but it's a pretty light color. And then I'm going to go in with Fall Hard, and it's just a slightly deeper shade than that first color we used. And again, it has some cooler tones to it, but a really nice transition shade for the crease. And I'm going to layer this in the crease, and then you can see I'm taking it a little bit on the outer corner. Now going in to this bottom shade called DM Me, and this is the Morphe M506. And I've decided I'm going to do a halo eye today. I don't do that very often, but I am going to just tap this color on the outer corner. And you can see this is kind of a gray taupe matte shade. And so I'm just taking my time, pat this in the outer third, and then I'm going to take it on the inner third of the lid. So don't take it all the way to the innermost part of the corner, but almost. And then I'm going to then lightly connect the outer and the inner color over the top through the bottom part of the crease. Then I took a little more of that shadow and just made sure that outer corner was a little bit darker, made sure everything is blended there, and then going back with the E40 through the crease, no extra product to begin with. And then I'm going to go back and add a tiny bit more of Love Language and just make sure all of that is evenly blended. And you'll take your time doing a lot of blending here. Then I'm going to take the Morphe M433 and the shade Fall Hard. And this is, again, just that little bit deeper shade. So just kind of going back and forth between these shades to make sure everything's blended. Now going in with the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease, you can use a little bit of concealer for this. I have the shade Create. It only takes a tiny little bit of this. I decided I needed a little more than I originally applied, but just tap that in with my finger to brighten the center part of the lid. And then I'm going to go over this part with a shimmery shadow. And I'm using Too Good, which is kind of a silvery lavender shade. It's really pretty and doesn't have any chunky glitter, but just brings a bit of shine there. And then I'm going to go in with this kind of mauve pink shade called Come and Get It on the M506, and just use that to blend that shimmer shade into the outer corner. I wanted a little bit of pink, just a subtle hint of pink in this look. Then going in with the black shade, I'm using the Sigma E55, a flat brush, and I'm going really close to the lashes. I did not want this look to get out of hand with too much of the black shade. It's very pigmented, so I'm tapping this into that outer corner and down into the lashes. And I wanted just a really soft liner look there, and then going back with DM Me, that kind of gray taupe shade, to blend that black in. So I wanted this to be a really soft kind of rounded look, and then back through our shadows one more time, just brightening up that center lid shade again with that Too Good shade. And for liner, I'm using the Tarte Man-Eater liner, and what I love about this is just that nice sharp point. I wanted the tiniest, thinnest line, so I took this about 2/3 of the way across the upper lash line, and then I'm just taking it slightly beyond the corner and just making a really fine little flick there on the outer edge. And then I'm going to go over it and soften it with some shadow. So first going in with that gray shade, DM Me, and this is just an Aesthetica angled brush, and going right over the top of that liner because I didn't want to see that harsh line, and then adding a little more of the black right on top of that, and just kind of going back and forth to make that nice and soft yet defined. Then I'm going to go in with a tiny little bit of this reddish brown shade. It's called Hot to Trot on the M165 from Morphe. And I'm using that on the inner part of the lash line, and then on top of where we laid down that black liner. Again, I kind of wanted a little bit of warmth and softness. And then I'm using, this is the color Stray Dog from Urban Decay, which they don't make anymore, but Mushroom I think is a similar shade. And just using this about halfway across the lower lash line, smudge it in with my finger, and then top it with a little bit of this shimmery shade. This is slightly deeper than the shade we used on the lid, but it still is a silvery kind of lavender shade, and just kind of liked that little bit of shine on the lower lash line. And then I wanted to just blend out with Fall Hard on that inner part of the lower lash line to make it look softer. And then to tie in the kind of pop of brightness in the center of the upper lid, I used the same shade Too Good on the lower lid, and then just further brightened again on the upper lid. And one more time back through my brushes, the 506 and then the E40, just to make sure that crease is all soft. I include these steps because I think sometimes it's misleading when people cut those out and you get done and your eyeshadow look does not look blended. So lots of blending. All right, for blush, I'm using this blush palette from Sigma in this beautiful pink shade. It is called Pinkin'. And these are really nice blushes. This was one of the first makeup products from Sigma that I had tried. They sent me this in a PR box, and I've really been enjoying it. And then, of course, I had to bring in my Sugar and Peach palette. Since we're doing a lot of Too Faced looks, I thought I would bring this in, and I added a little bit of Peach Pop on top of that pink blush shade just to bring a little bit of shine to the cheeks. And then I couldn't resist adding some Peach Honey. So you're going to see this palette appear in every look. I just love it, especially this summer, adding that little bit of bronzy glow. And that pink shade just kind of makes the cheeks look fresh. Going in with the shade Peach Pearl and my MAC fan brush, just adding a bit of shine to the tops of the cheeks and the bridge of the nose. Now going back to the palette, for this look, I did these two shades. I did that kind of shimmery, this is a shimmery white color because I thought I needed that brightness, and later on I think I could have skipped this step, but I added this first and then went on top of it with Love Spark. And then I'm using Silk Robe here on the lower lash line just to make that a little bit softer and brighter. For lips, I'm using this brand new BECCA Ultimate Lip Definer Lip Pencil. It's an automatic one. I was sent this from Octoly to test out, and I really love this. It has its own built-in sharpener, so you can keep that point nice and sharp. And then it has a very unique rubber tip spatula kind of thing. So you can use this to blend your lip color and your lip liner together. So I'm starting off with the lip liner. This shade, I wasn't too sure. It's called a plum, it's like a plummy mauve cranberry color. And I thought, oh, it might be too bright, but I absolutely loved it blended in with the lipstick. So I'm taking first that little rubber end, and you can see how nicely it just softens the edge of that lip line. So I've really been enjoying this. It is very long lasting, it's creamy, so really like the formula. So I was very happy to be able to test this out and would love to try some other colors. Now I'm going in with the BECCA Ultimate Love lipstick, and this is the shade Sugar. So this is a very nude pink color, and so I wanted to see how this worked with the BECCA lip liner, and together they really were a match made in heaven. So they're both a really creamy formula, but still pretty long lasting. And then I went back to the lip liner and just blended because the lipstick is so light. I wanted to kind of fade in the outer corners and give the illusion of a little bit of an ombre lip here. So bringing that lip liner in just on the outer corners, give my lips a little more look of fullness. And then I added some Huda Beauty Lip Strobe Gloss in the shade Angelic, just to kind of the center part of the lips to make the lips look even fuller, and loved how that came out. And then one final step, I thought I would add some Take the Cake, just a little bit of a matte pink shade right here on the inner corner of the lower lash line. I've really been trying to do some more down here just to make it look softer. And here's the finished look. I finished my hair. The hair tutorial will be linked below, but I loved how this look came together, and despite it being cooler tones, I really enjoyed this look. Now on to look number 2. So again, starting off, I've already primed my lids, and now going in with a combination of Silk Robe and Buff It Out on a Morphe M208. Going to apply a pretty thick layer of this through the crease and all the way up to the brow bone. Right there along the edge of the brows where I put the lightest shade. Now going in with the E40 and Call Me Back. This is a really kind of an orangey camel color, and this I'm realizing has been kind of one of my go-to crease colors. It's a really nice warm shade, and I'm really going to layer this up because this is going to be a warm bronzy brown look. So I'm just taking my time going back and forth, layering this up in the crease. And now I'm going to take a Morphe M433 and Hot to Trot, which is a reddish brown shade. It is one of my favorites. You know me and these warm shades, I just love them. So I'm going to take my time, and you can see I am just lightly feathering this in the outer corner. I didn't want this to be a super dramatic bronzy look, so I'm just taking my time layering this here in the outer corner and really just kind of keeping this to the outer third. And then taking a smaller brush, this is the M506, I took a little bit of that shadow and put it right in the corner. If you have hooded lids, you know sometimes that little corner needs a little extra love. So I'm just placing this brush right there to get the most depth of color. Going back to the first shade, Call Me Back, and that M433 and going just around the edge to make sure it's nice and soft, and then blending that outer corner into the middle part of the lid. So just want it to really fade nicely. And then going back to the E40, one more time around the edge. And again, these blending steps are really important, so that's why I include them. So now I'm going into, this is a brand new Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in Demolition. I have gone through a whole one of these before, so I was excited to finally be able to break into this new one. It's really my favorite matte brown liner. You can see I am sticking really close to the lash line, and then I'm going in with the tiniest brush I own. This is from Sigma, it's the 908, and I'm using that to just pull out the thinnest little wing there in the outer corner. It's amazing. I can only do it with this brush. And then I am taking that along the lashes just to kind of smooth out that shadow, that liner, before going over the top of it with shadow. So now I'm taking the M165 and Set in Stone. This is a kind of medium warm brown shade, and I'm going over the top of that liner to thicken it a little bit, but also make sure it's nice and soft. And then taking this e.l.f. smudge brush and a little more of Hot to Trot. Again, I wanted to get right there in the corner, but I didn't want to cover up that nice little thin line of liner that we had out there. And then blend out the edge. And now I'm going to go in with Flirty Pop, which is a real pretty kind of peachy gold shade. Using my finger, you'll see there's a lot of pigmentation using your finger, but I'm going to go in a little bit with a damp brush. But wanted to show you what it looks like when applied with your finger. So applying this about 3/4 of the way across the lid. It's a really pretty shade. And then I'm going to apply just like that, which is a deeper bronze color. And I'm going to use this to blend that shimmer shade on the lid with that outer corner. And then using the M506 and Hot to Trot, going to then just kind of make sure all of that is soft and make sure we didn't lose any of that depth in the outer corner. And now here we go. I'm going to spritz an E60 from Sigma with, this is just Ofra setting spray. I don't like it for the face, but I love it for wetting eyeshadows, and you can see it just turns those shimmer shades into a beautiful metallic looking shade. Going back with our Demolition eyeliner, going to use just a little bit of this on the outer part of the lower lash line for a little bit of definition, and then of course go over the top of it with some shadow. So I'm going back to Call Me Back on the M165, and then adding a little bit of Hot to Trot on the outer edge. And I do these steps almost every time. It really helps the liner stay in place. So after adding mascara and all that, I did go in with the Bare Minerals Faux Tan bronzer as my contour. And now for cheeks, I am just going to be doing a mix of some bronzy shades. So first starting off with Peach Honey. This is the Spotlight Duster brush from Sigma, and I am applying this shade kind of to the tops of my cheeks and blending it into my contour shade that I already have on my cheeks. And then I'm going to go over the top of that with, I'm using a damp beauty blender and tapping over that Peach Honey with a little more Peach Honey. So this is a wet dry palette. So you can see I'm using now the highlighter shade Peach Pearl, and my blender wasn't super damp. It was just slightly damp. So you could get even more color payoff if you wet your sponge even more, but I just wanted to test out what it looked like with a damp sponge. So for my blush, I am using this adorable and yet wonderful, it's technically a blush shade. This is the Aladdin collection from MAC Cosmetics called Your Wish Is My Command, and it's a really pretty kind of reddish matte bronzer shade, but I'm using it kind of everywhere I would use my blush and a bronzer. So now I'm going in with Love Spark and on my pinky first to apply in the inner corner, and then adding a little bit of setting spray to an E30 from Sigma and going over the top, and you can see how much more intense that makes that inner corner highlight by wetting the brush. And now going back with just a little more of Flirty Pop, which is the color we used on our lid. I'm just going to make sure that blends into that inner corner highlight shade. And now this is a new brush to me, which I have been loving from Sigma, and it's called the Shade Creaser. It's Shader Crease. It's the E47. I've been loving just dipping this into kind of the warm shade, the Call Me Back and Silk Robe, and just blending out that lower lash line and making it soft. Here is another new product. I got this on sale at Sephora. It's by Kaja, and it has a lip liner on one end and a lipstick on the other. Really nice, just simple formula, creamy, not overly shiny or anything, but I really loved it. This is the shade Sand Dunes, and just kind of a nice compact idea with your liner and lipstick together, but I wanted a little warmth and shine, so I'm adding Dose of Colors lip gloss in the shade Jazzy, my absolute favorite gloss from them. This color is just so pretty. Add some sparkle, a little bit of warmth, and here is our finished look. So that warm, bronzy brown eye and that neutral lip, and just love this look for summer. Now on to our third and final look. Again, starting off with Put a Lid On It primer. I already applied that, and now I'm going to go over my lids with the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas in Create, and I'm going to use this all over my lid today because I wanted my lids to be nice and bright. I'm using some bright shades in this look, so I wanted those colors to really pop. I'm using, this is the Sedona Lace 847 brush, just any kind of dense synthetic brush will work to blend that out. And then because that product can be a little bit tacky, I'm using the E35 from Sigma to blend those Silk Robe and buff it out to kind of blend that into the crease and set that a little bit. And then using the Buff It Out along the brow bone there as a little highlight. Now going in with the M504 and Call Me Back. It is making an appearance again because I just love the warmth that this adds through the crease. So applying this back and forth, building up, and now I'm going to use the E55 and this bright fuchsia matte shade. Look at that, wow. Very pigmented, especially using that cut crease canvas. It really brightened the lid to make this color pop. So I am really taking my time with this shade. I did not want to blend this color through the crease, and I just kind of wanted it placed in the outer corner, and then I'm going to build some colors around it. So I'm doing kind of almost like a very slight U. I'm not doing really a V shape out here, just kind of bringing that color up towards the brow and then ever so slightly blending it down toward the lash line. And this is going to give the eyes just that really nice lifted look there in the outer corner. Then I'm going to take a clean blending brush and use this along the top edge and the outer edge because, again, I really don't want to take this color through the crease or anywhere. I really want it to be just here in the outer corner. So again, building up a little more of that color. Just go slow. It's a very pigmented color and can get out of control real fast. So then going back with the M433 and just blending through around the edge here, making sure it's nice and soft. And then I'm going to go back and start adding some more of our crease shade. So going back to that Call Me Back, going to use that M433 now just to soften the edge and bring a little bit of color around or through the crease and around the outer edge of the eye. And take your time, just doing a little bit of soft blending. I'm not blending into that pink shade, but just around, and then take the M504 and blend a little more of that same color, Call Me Back, through the inner part of the crease. So on one eye, you can see I already added a little bit of definition. I did not want to add upper rim liner. So instead, I'm showing you how you can get a similar look by just going right into the top of the roots of the lashes. So if you don't like adding liner to your inner rim, try just going right into the upper lash line, right into the roots. And I'm just keeping this super close to the lashes. Again, this is the shade Demolition. And then I'm taking a firm angled brush, this is the M165, and just pressing that liner into the roots of my lashes so that there's no gaps between my lashes. So that's kind of the goal of putting liner in your waterline. So now I'm going to go over the top of that liner with a mixture of the dark brown and the black in the shade in the palette. I didn't want to just do black because I didn't want it quite that harsh, so I added a little bit of the dark brown and just ever so lightly going over that liner to make sure it's nice and soft, and again making sure there's no gaps between my lashes. Now going in with the gold shade. This is one of my favorite names, Oops-a-Daisy. This is a very yellow gold shade, and it's really pretty. I think yellow and pink together are a really pretty combination. I applied it first with my finger, and now I am dampening an E60 with that Ofra setting spray, and look at how metallic that shadow becomes. It's really pretty and bright. Then I'm going to take a little bit of Love Spark on my finger, and I'm going to use this in the inner part of the inner corner with my finger first. And I just wanted to kind of take that shadow, that yellow shadow, down just a little bit. So make it a little more of a gradation. And then I spritzed my brush again and went over the top of that Love Spark, and you can see again it just makes it just melt into the skin. So pretty. And then I wanted a pop of green, and this is Temptation, and I'm using a just a flat brush. This is the M433 from Morphe. Now had I to do it over again, I would actually put down a green liner first, because this shadow after a couple of hours did not stay well on its own. So you need to either put some primer down here or a liner. But I first laid down the shadow, and then I went in with this Alamar brush and spritzed it with a little more shadow and added kind of a wet shadow down here, and it really intensified it. But had I put down a liner, it would have stayed better and been just a little more intense. But I love the look of that olive green and the pink and the gold on the lid. And then I decided I wanted a little bit of a gradation of color between the gold and the pink. So I added On Fire, and it really turns this into kind of a sunset look there on the upper lid. I just loved this combination. And then went over the top of that with my damp brush. And again, it just let everything mesh together. And then I just added a tiny bit more of that fuchsia color just to make sure I didn't lose any of that bright pink there. And then back with the M433 to blend everything, make sure it's all soft through the crease. Now for blush, I used Burt's Bees blush in the shade Shy Pink. And it's such a pretty pink shade, and just wanted something really feminine and girly on the cheeks to go with our eye look. And then of course had to go back with the Sugared Peach palette, added a little bit of peach pop on my Spotlight Duster from Sigma, and just brought a little bit of some shine to the cheeks. Just makes me look a little more alive, I think. And then, of course, adding a little bit of peach honey to the back part of the cheeks. And then going in with Peach Pearl as my highlighter on this MAC fan brush. And just really love the combination of those colors with this eye look. I think this palette is a great companion to the eyeshadow palette. So if you're looking for a new face palette, that would be a great one. Now I'm going to go in again with Love Spark on my finger and apply that in the inner corner just to brighten that up. And then, of course, dampening this E30 from Sigma and going right over the top of that. And you can see just how bright that eye looks. And one more time on the lower lash line, I'm going to use the e.l.f. smudge brush with Call Me Back just to soften that inner part of the lower lash line. And then using the fuchsia shade on that same brush right in the outer corner to make sure that upper lid blends with the lower lash line. This is kind of one of those advanced tricks to make everything look seamless. Going back now for lips, I'm going back to the BECCA lip liner in Serene. I thought this color was perfect to go with what I had going on the lids, and just lining my lips first with this, and then I'm skipping lipstick, going straight in with the Huda Beauty Lip Strobe Gloss in Angelic, and I love this combination. Just a pearly pinky gold color, and then I used that little spatula on the end of the BECCA lip liner to blend that gloss in with the lip liner, and just worked beautifully. And here's our finished look. So I really love the combination of these colors. They really brought out the green in my eyes and went really well with my olive green jacket as well. So I hope that you really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much as always for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.